Returning to our top story, President Obama addressed officials from 60 countries at a summit on extremism. It was the final day of a three-day gathering. He emphasized that the struggle is against terrorism, not Islam.
These terrorists are desperate for legitimacy. And all of us have a responsibility to refute the notion that groups like ISIL somehow represent Islam, because that is a falsehood that embraces the terrorist narrative. The notion that the West is at war with Islam is an ugly lie. And all of us, regardless of our faith, have a responsibility to reject it.
For analysis of today's summit meeting, we go to Arise News contributor Eric Ham. Hey, Eric, it's good to see you.
Good to be here.
So the White House has been very specific about, or very intentional about, not using the phrase Islamic extremists, have been saying violent extremist or terrorist instead. Now, the president has been aggressive in fighting the war on terror using drone strikes and even been criticized for that. So why is the GOP so up in arms about this?
Actually, I think what the GOP is trying to do is they're trying to wrest away from Barack Obama and the Democrats in general the national security mantle which the president took away from them in 2008. And so I think with this, along with all of the shenanigans around Benghazi and the congressional hearings and commissions that have been put together, I think what they're trying to do is showcase the president as not strong enough on terrorism writ large. And of course, we know that's not the case. However, for the president, what he's trying to do is he recognizes that he needs allies, particularly in the Middle Eastern region, to go along with the United States on many of these issues. And so that's why he's being very careful.
Yeah, but incidentally, other countries are taking that same lead. I believe it's even Denmark that has resisted calling the violence that they've recently seen, associating it with Islam.
Sure. And also, too, I mean, and the president made this very clear. You know, ISIL is actually reaching for and trying to attain legitimacy. And so if the president of the United States were to say the United States is at war with Islam, that just plays right into their hands. And so it allows them to be more effective at recruiting and expanding their reach in terms of violent extremism. So the president is trying to, I think, play both sides here.
That makes sense, but and if the president were to give in and adopt this language of using Islamic extremism, how might this affect U.S. strategy toward ISIL or the AQAP, the Al-Qaeda of the Arabian Peninsula?
Sure, and actually it would go far beyond there, because if you look at terror groups like the Khorasan group, you look at Boko Haram, what this does is this will just continue to play and give the enemy a ready-made narrative for them to continue their advance. However, for the president, if he were to actually take on that mantle of saying we're at war with Islam, it makes it that much more difficult for him to reach out to potential partners to go along with the United States in trying to corral a coalition to combat these terror organizations out there.
Eric, so that's the drawback of using this terminology. Are there any benefits?
Absolutely. Well, not very many. And also, too, what we have to recognize is there are more than 1 billion Muslims worldwide. And so we have to recognize that what we're seeing, particularly from the ISIL and organizations of its ilk, is that's only one very extreme type of Islam that we're seeing. It's just like Christianity. We have a number of different types of Christians. But unfortunately for Islam, all that we see and what gets the attention is the brutality of some of these radicals and these extremists. And so what the president wants to do is recognize that there are nuance, that there are many layers to the religion, and that for the most part they are very peaceful.
Yeah, one of the things that the president said that has really resounded, been played a lot in the news cycle, and that is that these are not religious leaders, these are terrorists, making that distinction. Eric Ham, thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
See you.